Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWAS. Final night of the NBA play-in tournament. Got off to a rough start. I did hit my biggest bet on the first night, which was Kings +3. So I hit my biggest bet, but I lost the three others. So I still finished down a few dollars that day. But had a good one. The second night, I wish I didn't bet the Heat money line. I took the points, but I also took the money line, so I broke even on that game. But I hit a full unit bet on the Bulls, which was nice. So we're up slightly to start the playoffs. 3-1 against the spread. I'll take it. Got two more games in this play-in tournament. We're starting with Bulls Heat. Let's go.
Welcome to the SWAS. The SWAS. SWAS. Hey, get the SWAS.
All right, so like I said, we got Chicago on the road in Miami. Winner gets the 8 seed. Winner plays the Boston Celtics. This line is now Miami -1.5, which is down from 3. So the Heat very short favorite here at home. The total sitting at 205. Super low total in this one. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. And according to the model, we should see a 3-point Heat win. Final score 112-109 Miami. Injuries and inactives, and we'll start with Chicago. A few names on the report here. Dosunmu listed as questionable, Caruso listed as questionable, and Drummond listed as questionable. But all three of those guys were listed as questionable in the Hawks game, and all three ended up playing. So I would imagine these guys end up going. On the Miami side, obviously, I'm sure you've all heard, Jimmy Butler's done. I think he's going to be out for multiple weeks, so even if the Heat are able to win this game in advance, I don't think they expect Butler back anytime soon. Definitely not playing in this game. Terry Rozier may return, though. He's listed as questionable. He missed the Philadelphia game, and they definitely could have used him in that second half. So maybe Rozier comes back for the Heat. Update. So after I recorded this, I looked, and it looks like Terry Rozier has been ruled out. So I just said he's questionable. It looks like that is not true. It doesn't look like Terry's going to play. Betting trends on the Bulls side. Chicago has now covered 4 in a row. 4-0 against the spread in their last 4. And this game happens to be on the road where they've been much better. Since the All-Star break, the Bulls are 9-5 against the spread on the road. Miami actually is the opposite. Just 4-9 against the spread at home since the All-Star break. They are 7-3-1 against the spread in their last 11, though. Bad news for the Heat is they have not performed well against this Bulls team. They're just 3-5 straight up in their last 8 meetings with the Bulls, 2-6 against the spread in those 8 meetings. So the Heat have not played well against the Bulls. These two teams have met 4 times this year, and they split the series 2-2. They went 1-1 in Miami, 1-1 in Chicago. They haven't played in a while, though. Their last meeting was all the way back on December 16th. So these two teams played 4 times, all in the first month and a half, 2 months of the season. So let's match these two teams up on the court. We'll start with some net efficiency numbers in the last 10 games. Obviously, the Miami Heat have been the much better team. First in overall net efficiency to 16th for Chicago. Now, we do have to mention that the Heat have played nobody. On the last 10 games, the Heat are 29th in strength of schedule. That being said, the Bulls are 21st. So it's not like Chicago's played a grueling schedule. Look at the defensive rating here for Miami first. They lead the NBA in defensive efficiency in the last 10 games. And as we know, the Heat have been an elite defense all season. So why don't we start by looking at the Bulls' recent matchups against top 10 defenses. There's been 5 in the last few weeks. March 31st, they beat the Minnesota Timberwolves, but Minnesota was on a back-to-back. Or no, that wasn't a back-to-back. That game was sandwiched in between Phoenix and Denver for Minnesota. I actually took Chicago moneyline in that game because it was such a bad spot for the T-Wolves. They also beat the Knicks back on April 5th, but that was a back-to-back with a travel for the Knicks. So a couple asterisks next to those 2 wins. And since then, April 7th, April 9th, April 14th, 3 losses to top 10 defenses at Orlando, home versus the Knicks, and on the road in New York. So obviously, we need to talk about the Heat missing Jimmy Butler from this game. I will say, though, this season on paper, they haven't been much better or worse without Butler. Their record with Jimmy Butler this year is 33-27, 110.6 points per game, 108.5 points allowed per game. Without Butler, 13-9, and pretty much the same looking numbers. Now, I'm not saying the Heat are better or missing Butler doesn't mean anything. I'm just saying Miami is still a dangerous team without Jimmy Butler. It's not like we could just write them off. And if you take a look at Miami's game logs without Jimmy Butler this season, there's a lot of impressive wins on here. They won on the road in Orlando. They beat the Sixers. They won on the road in Golden State, on the road against the Lakers, Orlando again, at Milwaukee, at Philly, at Sacramento. These are all playoff teams that the Heat have beaten without Jimmy Butler this season. And you know what? On paper, this is a good matchup for Miami. Chicago's been pretty reliant on scoring at the rim recently. They're actually second in shot frequency at the rim in the last 10 games. 34% of the Bulls' shot attempts in the last 10 games have come at the basket. Miami's been elite protecting the rim all season. Chicago's going to struggle to score points in this game with or without Jimmy Butler on the floor. Now, on the other side of the court, we know that Miami's offense can't really be relied on, especially without Jimmy Butler. And this Chicago defense, it's not good, but they've actually been playing solid defense inside the three-point line. They defend the mid-range shot really well, and we know Miami loves to take that 8 to 12 footer. But as we know, the weakest part of the Chicago Bulls defense all season has been the three-point shot. And I know Miami isn't really branded as a three-point shooting team, but they've got shooters, and they're efficient from out there. 44% of the Heat shot attempts in the last 10 games have come from three, and they're hitting them at a pretty solid rate. The Sixers had been playing great defense against the three-point shot for a solid month now. Miami was able to hit some outside shots in that game, 14 of 39, 35.9% from three. I mean, it's not crazy, but that was on the Sixers, who've been playing some good perimeter defense. Outside shots should be there against the Bulls. But we do have to mention that Chicago seems to be improving in that department. They just played a three-point trigger-happy Hawks team. Hawks have been shooting a ton of threes. They couldn't get anything going against the Bulls on Wednesday night. Just 11 of 37, 29.7% from the floor. And if you look at the three-point numbers for Chicago's defense, yeah, these are obviously ugly looking. But if you rewind 2 months ago, these were 28th, 29th, 30th. So the fact that these say 16th and 20th, I mean, it's actually a slight improvement. Chicago hasn't been quite as bad against a three-point shot. And Chicago might have the kryptonite to this Spoelstra defense, and his name is DeMar DeRozan. We just talked about how elite Spoelstra and the Heat defense are at eliminating your best player, taking away what you want to do. We just talked about how they're elite at holding Joel Embiid down, and they did a great job against Embiid again. That doesn't really apply to DeMar DeRozan. He's got solid numbers against the Heat. Since joining the Chicago Bulls, he's averaging 24.5 points per game, shooting 55% from the floor, averaging 6.6 for 7.8 from the free throw line. And the reason I included those numbers, Joel Embiid can't even get to the stripe against the Heat. DeMar DeRozan finds a way to get there. So DeRozan hasn't had a problem with his Heat defense. And remember, DeRozan likes to shoot that long mid-range shot. It's actually the only weak spot of the Miami defense. So I expect DeRozan to be a real problem for Miami in this game, especially with no Jimmy Butler. And look at Chicago's offensive numbers from Wednesday night. 131 points, 56.8% from the floor, 42.3% from three, 72 points in the paint. They had an explosive offensive night. Question we need to ask, was that a reflection of the Hawks defense, or was that a reflection of the Chicago Bulls offense waking up for the postseason? Impossible to say. Probably a combination of both. As far as betting this game, this is an ugly one. I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm taking the Bulls. I wish I grabbed it last night. It was at +3. I think they win this game. I don't like what I saw from Tyler Hero and Jaquez the other night. I feel like they were uncertain with the basketball, indecisiveness, not knowing where to go with it down the stretch, second half of that third quarter and the fourth quarter. And without Jimmy Butler to kind of calm the ranks down offensively, I think Chicago's going to have a great defensive game here. So I'm taking the Bulls to win. Probably lean over as well, but I'd look towards the Bulls, and I also like DeMar DeRozan to go over his points total. Not usually a prop guy, but I like DeRozan to go over, and I'm taking the Bulls to win. If you want my top bets for NBA or MLB or the top bets from any of the staff here, everything's posted on KyleKirms.com. There's also a link to join the Discord right there on the homepage if you're interested. Let's have ourselves a great weekend. NBA playoffs officially starting. Remember, playoffs are like 6-7 weeks long. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Remember to bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you in the Discord.